Meeting to order, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And here we go. Yeah. Let's welcome our friends from Rising Star. Thank you all for being here tonight. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you. Come on around and please introduce yourselves and let us know what your favorite hot lunch meal is or item.
All right, my name is Laura Rathbun. I am a clerical aide at Rising Star and one of the StuCo sponsors. And I just wanted to say that my favorite thing they've done so far this year is they hosted a community lunch right before Thanksgiving. We had over 300 guests and student council hosted it. They sat everybody, they decorated the cafeteria, and it was a really great day of fellowship and gratitude.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I'm Camille Gross. I'm in 6th grade, and Mr. Bush is my teacher. And my favorite hot lunch is French toast sticks.
All right. That's my fave.
My name's Gal. I'm from 6th grade. My teacher is Miss Kors. My favorite hot lunch is mac and cheese.
I am Jax von Drossick, and my teacher is Miss Hanson. And my favorite hot lunch is French toast sticks too.
My name is William. I'm in 5th grade. My teacher is Mrs. Schwacke, and my favorite hot lunch is probably the cheeseburger.
My name is Christian Ndungu. My teacher is Miss Spano, and my favorite hot lunch has to be pizza.
My name is Aaron Tyler, and I'm in 4th grade, and my teacher is Miss Bradfield, and my favorite hot lunch is Alfredo pasta.
My name is Eleanor Knoll, and I'm in 4th grade, and my teacher's name is Miss Pruder, and my favorite hot lunch is chicken strips.
Good choice.
My name is Ava Lane. I'm in 4th grade. My teacher's name is Miss Judy, and my favorite hot lunch is pancakes.
My name is Rose Fox. I'm in 3rd grade. My favorite hot lunch is probably ramen.
My name is Brixton Carnes. I am in 3rd grade. My teacher is Mrs. Kim, and my favorite hot lunch is chicken sandwich.
All right.
My name is Jess Reisinger. I'm the principal at Rising Star. My favorite hot lunch is the walking taco, and I'm so proud of our amazing StuCo.
Yay. All right. I hope you all had a good first day back from break. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Next, if we could approve, if there are no changes to the agenda, if we could have a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved, Hembry.
Second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And we have Ms. Borgman with us remotely. So thank you for being able to call in. We have 4 sets of minutes to approve. I'd like to seek a motion to approve all of those together. If there are no changes, it'd be items 1.4 to 1.7. All right. Do I have a second?
Second, Boyd Nerona.
All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right. Dr. Schumacher, can you lead us on can I turn it over to you for the superintendent's report?
Absolutely. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As we jump into the superintendent's report, just to start off with, just before this meeting, we had the chance to congratulate incredible student artists in the Shawnee Mission School District. We recognize student honorees in the Shawnee Mission Area Council PTA Reflections Art Contest. This contest encourages artistic creativity. Students were encouraged to express themselves artistically with a focus on the theme, Accepting Imperfection. They submitted work in the areas of dance, choreography, film production, literature, music composition, photography, and visual arts. We thank all of these students for sharing their creativity with us. Congratulations to them, their schools, their teachers, and their families. After the weather we've had, I'm sure many of us are ready to look ahead towards spring. We want to highlight just a few ways everyone can get ready for the Research and Development Forum coming in April. First, save the date, please. The Student Showcase featuring student projects from across the district will be held April 22nd through the 24th. The next Great Idea Pitch will be held the morning of April 26th with an awards ceremony in the afternoon. Second, we would encourage students, teachers, and families to think of projects for students to enter in the Student Showcase. Every student in Shawnee Mission is invited to share experiments, inventions, and project displays at the R&D Forum. This event is a great chance for our whole community to see the innovation and creativity of our students. Third, now is a great time for students to be thinking about the next great idea. Students are encouraged to think of a new product or solution to a problem they can share to a panel of judges this spring. There's a chance to win prize money to make the idea a reality. We'll include a link in the recap to help everyone as well as we all get ready to be all in at the R&D Forum. We also, of course, want to thank the Rainier family for their longstanding support of this Shawnee Mission event. This January, we are featuring the Read Across SMSD theme, Find Your Way, with a little help from students and Principal Dave Ewers at Shawnee Mission North High School. If you would, play the video.
Sometimes life can move us far away from places and people we care about. But along the way, a memory, an item, or a photograph can help us feel connected or right at home again. This January, we're exploring the theme, Find Your Way. Even though times might be challenging, there are ways we can prepare and find meaning in our experiences and connections. Our featured book this month is A Maleta, Full of Treasures by Natalia Sylvester. In this book, a young girl's grandmother prepares for a journey by packing a suitcase. When the grandmother arrives, she shares messages from family, experiences, and treats from back home. The young girl and grandmother have such a good time together, it becomes very difficult to say goodbye. But one final surprise reminds the girl of all the love she and her grandmother share. I've invited a few students from my school community, Shawnee Mission North, to help pack this maleta, a suitcase with items that are just as special to us on our own journey.
Hi, I'm Erica, and I brought my quince crown. I wore this crown at my quinceañera when I turned 15. When I see this crown, I feel pride and joy. It reminds me of my religion, my Mexican heritage, my extended family, and the fun memories we made at my quince. It also helps me think about the woman I am growing up to be.
Hi, I'm Bella, and I'm going to add this Dokjampa flower, sometimes called a plumera. This is the national flower of Laos in Asia, and it is a symbol of joy and luck. It's often used in traditional Lao clothing and accessories. It reminds me of my parents and happy times. It also reminds me of my ancestors, where they are from, and all they have done for me.
My name is Edgar, and I brought this bird toy that was a gift from my grandmother in Mexico. My tita took me to a market not long after Christmas, and she bought it for me as a present. Even though we talk on the phone regularly, I still miss her. Every time I see this gift, like the girl in the book, it reminds me of her, how much I love her, and it helps me feel close to her.
I'm going to add this Shawnee Mission North graduation stole. Graduation is my favorite night of the school year, and it's an event that brings the entire North community together in happiness. We could fill this suitcase with hundreds of different treasures from all of the students in our school. Everyone has their own unique treasures and stories. But something that connects us is the school community we all share at Shawnee Mission North. I know the same is true for all the schools in our district. Let's read across SMSD.
It's amazing, wasn't it? So cool. So thank you very much to Erica, Bella, Edgar, and of course, Principal Ewers. We also thank NEA Shawnee Mission for their ongoing partnership in support of Read Across SMSD, and of course, the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation for providing access to Read Across SMSD books to Shawnee Mission students. We're excited to begin welcoming the next kindergarten and pre-kindergarten class to the Shawnee Mission School District. Enrollment for pre-K and kindergarten is now open for the 25-26 school year. We encourage all in our district to spread the word among parents of 4 and 5-year-olds to help them get ready and welcome them to our school district. We'll include a link in the recap with more information. We also want to provide a heads up that the in-district transfer window, which is the period of time a student can apply to transfer from their home school to a different school, will open on February 1st, 2025. Students who are in good standing, who are currently approved for transfer to another school location, do not need to reapply. We will be sending emails to all families and staff in the district soon, and we will post information under recent news on the district website in preparation for February 1st. I would also add that at our last board meeting in December, our Board of Education passed policy JBCD and JBCB, which relate directly to in-district and non-resident transfers. The administration was tasked with making edits to the good standing language in each of those policies. Our team is currently working on those edits, and I would anticipate bringing those policies back to the board at our next meeting. Everyone in our Shawnee Mission School District community is invited to join and support this year's Shawnee Mission Polar Plunge. This great, brave group of individuals will take a jump into Lake Olathe on February 22nd. I'm all in. Sherry, you're all in? Okay.
Yeah, I wear a wetsuit, so that makes it a little bit, it makes it a little bit better.
Yeah. It's invigorating. I digress a little bit on my script here, but this is all to help raise money for Special Olympics. Shawnee Mission's team is called Shiver and Shine. Shawnee Mission students, families, and staff benefit from opportunities created through Special Olympics. We've previously been recognized for having the most participants at the event, so we hope to have a lot of individuals joining the festivities. We'll share a link in our email recap for all who want to support the Polar Plunge. As we begin the third and fourth quarter of this year, our Shawnee Mission Strategic Plan action teams will be hard at work implementing all elements of the plan. As this work continues, we look to individuals from across our community, parents, educators, administrators, classified staff, and residents to serve on action teams. The collaboration, the ideas, the perspectives each action team members bring to this process is invaluable. We'll include a link in the recap for an application for anyone interested in serving on the action team or anyone seeking to nominate an individual for an action team. And finally, January is Board of Education Appreciation Month. These individuals up here at the dais show us all in so many ways what it means to be truly all in. Board of Education members dedicate numerous hours on a volunteer basis, listening to our community, and making challenging decisions, all while keeping what is best for students in mind. Board members, at your chair, you will find some custom-made stationery featuring the art of Shawnee Mission students. And tonight, we're also excited to share a special presentation for you. If we would, please welcome the Madrigal Singers from Shawnee Mission West High School under the direction of Shawnee Mission West choir teacher Jacob Sweat. Welcome, Mr. Sweat, and welcome to your students.
All right, this is already going to be great.
Isn't it? It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
All right, good evening, folks. We're the Shawnee Mission West Madrigals. We have a performance series tonight. We're going to sing Count the Stars by Amy Beck. We last performed this 4 snow days ago, plus a winter break, at our winter concert. This piece is all about remembrance of those we've lost. It's written for a kid named Briggs Anderson, who passed away very tragically, but this all comes from a letter that his mother wrote for his funeral. And it's just a lovely piece that we can sit with, even in the difficult times, to remember the joy that our loved ones bring to our lives. Here is Count the Stars from the Madrigals.
Amazing job. Thanks to our students. Thanks to Mr. Sweat. You guys were amazing. Absolutely amazing. Thank you, guys. I, of course, invite the... Yeah. They're amazing, right? I invite everyone to join me this month in thanking our Board of Education for everything they do for this school district. And that's just a great example of the great kids we have here.
That's
So
the best.
awesome. And that concludes my superintendent report.
Love that. All right, and here's some of the cool cards and artwork that's become stationary, so thank you for that. Okay, item 2.2, board reports. We'll start with Mr. Garcia, and if there's been a meeting or if you know if there's next meeting coming up. Probably not a lot going on over the holidays, so.
Not much to report, but we are meeting with both SMAC PT. I'm meeting with SMAC PTA and Shawnee Mission Education Foundation in the next few days, actually.
Great.
More to come in the next meeting.
Great, thank you. Ms. Borgman, let me bring you back over here because I put you by the choir. There we go.
Thank you for putting me by the choir. That was amazing.
Yeah.
We have a Kansas Association of School Board meetings this Saturday in Topeka, which I will be in attendance, and more to come.
Great, thank you. And then Ms. Owsley, KSB Legislative Committee or update.
There is no update. Legislative Committee, our process with regards to proposing and voting in KSB policies is concluded, but that policy is ready to be presented to legislators who were sworn today, and every state is Wednesday afternoon, and then I'll just separate it into the policy retreat because I'm right after as well, and we have a meeting for that on January 27th, and it's the same agenda that I went over the last time. This is a postponement, not an additional, so this is the postponement of the meeting that was to be in December, but we are having it now in January.
So it's gathering more information, essentially. Okay, all right, great. The Finance and Facilities Committee, we are scheduled to meet next on February 20th. And then anything on real world learning updates? Okay, all right. That concludes our board reports. We have two discussion items this evening. Item 3.1, our first is Student and Family Services update. Dr. Schumacher.
Yeah, I'm going to throw it over to Dr. Ziegler and her team to provide an amazing Student and Family Services update.
Thank you. As the team makes their way up to the chairs, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. So we are grateful and thankful for the opportunity to be with you this evening and share an update on the good work from Student and Family Services over the last year. So the Student Family Services Department supports the three strategic plan objectives related to students achieving academic success through their personalized learning plans, developing and utilizing personal resilience in support of college and career-ready graduates, and developing interpersonal skills to be connected and empathetic, contributing members of our community. Many of the connections to these objectives are achieved through collaboration with the different teams that are in our district that include curriculum instruction, our leadership and learning team, human resources, and our building team members that include our educators, our school counselors, our social workers, our equity practitioners, and student leaders that are committed to the ongoing development and support of these strategic plan objectives. People are at the heart of our work as a team, and whether our work is focused on families, students, or support for our colleagues, we as a team continue to strive in creating spaces where all feel welcome, they feel valued, celebrated, and safe. This evening, you're going to hear from team members, who I'll introduce in just a moment, sharing about the highlights from the past year as we continue to focus on developing and maintaining strong connections with all of our students, staff, and families. We are continuing to align our work to the strategic plan. We began back in 2019 with Strategy 2 as being kind of our North Star of Student Family Services team, and that is focused on belonging. We are grateful for the wisdom that came from our steering committee and the Board of Education with the added language to Strategy 2 and the current plan to support focus on strengthening, and that is bold for us, strengthening our unified, equitable, and inclusive culture to ensure belonging for all. While we made great gains related to Strategy 2 in the previous plan, we've adjusted our focus on action items specific to the current plan related to access, communication, and those connections and relationships as, again, we work with our students, families, staff, and community members in Shawnee Mission. New to the strategic plan is the addition of Strategy 5, Mental Health, which largely falls into the Student Services team, with support between Student and Family Services and our Health Services departments. You will hear information this evening as well as in additional updates coming with respect to strategic plan presentations and also in the Spring Health Services Program update. So again, between Health Services and Student Family Services, we are supporting Strategy 5. This evening, we want to share a few key highlights from the larger written report, and these are points of pride for us. Student and Family Services is a big umbrella with many topics, tasks, and supports. We've organized the team responsibilities into 4 pillars or key areas that include student programs, family support and advocacy, belonging, and mental health. With us this evening are members of the team, as well as a few very special guests. I'd like to introduce our presentation team, Dr. John McKinney, Director of Student Family Services, Ms. Caitlin Schulman, Coordinator of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, Catherine Harder, Social Worker at Shawnee Mission West, Memo Rodriguez, District Attendance Specialist. Memo serves the South Area feeder schools, and one of our outstanding student leaders, and also our department intern, Maya Williams. Maya is a senior at Shawnee Mission West. We also want to let you know that we continue to focus on our own wildly important goal that aligns directly with the 2 district wildly important goals, and our focus is supporting the district work to increase student achievement and social emotional well-being through a focus on continued professional growth and a culture of belonging. You'll hear about a lot of those professional development activities that we're focused on this evening. So with that, let's dig in. And in our student programs area, we want to highlight our work in the area of attendance. Nationally, chronic absenteeism, which is defined as missing 10% or more of school days for any reason, whether it's excused or unexcused, it's widely recognized as a serious issue with significant public health implications. In May of 2024, the White House held a bipartisan Everyday Counts Summit that was drawing the national attention to the problem, but also sharing best practices from across the country. We know there are a number of reasons why students are not coming to school. Our district challenge was to increase communication and connection so that every student knows that we want them to be in school. We are here for them. We set out to review our internal practices for recording attendance and make necessary adjustments to support our building teams. We expanded communication on the importance and impact of attendance, and we identified barriers and have been relentless in removing challenges for students and families. Last spring, we launched a new attendance program, and with that, the focus of expanding support to increase attendance, 6 attendance specialists were hired and placed within each feeder pattern, the middle schools and high schools. An additional position is supporting Horizons and Arrowhead this year. So I'm going to turn over to Memo Rodriguez. Memo, again, is with our South Area feeder schools, and Memo is one of our attendance specialists to share a little bit about what that work entails.
Good evening. Each attendance specialist works with building teams to follow the attendance data and learn about concerns and needs for individual students and families. Our job is to support expanded communication and understanding of the importance of school attendance as well as the resulting impact of absenteeism. The research shows that missing 10% or more school days can impact a student's ability to make academic progress, complete their courses, and remain on track for graduation. As specialists, we follow up with students and families to learn about challenges. I tell families I talk with that I am here as their advocate. We hold goal-setting meetings and work to eliminate barriers to school attendance, which can include communication, illness, transportation, avoidance, anxiety, or other identified needs. This year, the team has conducted over 2,300 individual student check-in meetings and communicated with nearly 2,000 parents. We have more work to do. At the district level, the specialists meet each week to discuss challenges, successes, and additional needs. Out of the collaboration, we've seen an increase in communication tools and mentoring resources to support outreach and connections with students and families. We are proud to share that we have seen a reduction in the district rate of chronic absenteeism from this point in time last year. The December data indicates a decrease from 22% to 18% of the students meeting the definition of chronic absenteeism. Once a student is considered chronically absent, I do an in-person check-in to address the recent absences. There are many students and families who are unaware of the truancy policy, and I try to inform them on Shawnee Mission School District policies and answer any questions regarding them. I follow up with chronic absentee students on a monthly basis and show them the results from their last 30 days. We talk about what went right or what went wrong and try to see if there's anything we can help them with. There are times I speak to students just to congratulate them on a great month of attendance. I take pride when we can celebrate one of our students that has been attending school and improve their attendance. This is a big win for us all. So now I'd like to bring up Caitlin Schulman, who will share on family support advocacy.
Try a different one.
Well, good evening. Just checking if everyone's awake. Our Student Family Services team is really dedicated to fostering a culture of collaboration and support and ensuring that every family feels valued and empowered. Through programs like our Superintendent DEIB Advisory Council, partnerships with advocacy organizations, and supporting community events like the Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day, we aim to create inclusive opportunities for families to connect, engage, and thrive. This year, our Student Family Services team collaborated with our C&I department and many community organizations to evolve our district's bilingual back to school night to become a multilingual community event, expanding our reach to connect with more families with resources and celebrate the diversity of our community. By offering resources and the communication in multiple languages, we aim to ensure that all families felt welcomed and supported. Partnerships with organizations like Latinx Collaborative have led to further innovative programs like Spanish language computer courses and expanding resource nights at our school buildings. Additionally, family engagement initiatives like A Night to Unite, which is a collaboration between Crestview and Highlands Elementary, showcased families' unique traditions, languages, and stories, fostering a sense of belonging. This event was actually built on the success of earlier partnerships, such as Rose Hill Elementary and Cornix, 2 schools one night around the world, which actually laid the foundation for many schools' similar culture nights across the district. Shawnee Mission West's annual Family Engagement Night aims to connect families within the feeder community. These events exemplify the district's commitment to creating these inclusive spaces where families feel valued, respected, and supporting in a collaborative environment for student success. Guided by our Strategy 2, strengthening around our focus on belonging, and through our comprehensive sustainable model, we unite administrators, building teams, equity practitioners that all help foster collaboration and professional growth. By prioritizing connections across our initiatives, amplifying our student voices, and cultivating these inclusive spaces, we are creating really intentional and meaningful pathways for engagement in our SMSD community where everybody truly feels like they belong. In the area of professional development, our efforts this year have been focused on building capacity, fostering collaboration, and strengthening connections across all areas. Our partnership with C&I and the instructional coach team has been prioritizing all students at the Tier 1 level Together, we have been working to integrate a culturally responsive approach to teaching and ensuring that students' diverse backgrounds and experiences are reflected in their high-quality academic activities. Additionally, we have collaborated with the ELL iCoaches to enhance our support for our linguistically diverse students by trying to equip our educators with effective strategies to meet the diverse needs of our students and promote equitable access to learning. The equity practitioner cadre meets monthly to deepen their learning and bring home this learning to their building teams, which support the building-led professional development. These teams play a vital role in advancing our equity-focused teaching, fostering inclusivity, and empowering our staff and our students. Additionally, they are strengthening connections with our SEL resource Character Strong and enhancing our Belonging Resource Hub to equip educators with the tools and resources they need to be successful. Our belonging support groups are also essential to fostering inclusion and connection at SMSD. Aligned with Strategy 2.3.2 in our strategic plan, these groups provide spaces for both our staff and our students to celebrate their identities, build community, and amplify voices. For students, these efforts have included impactful district-wide collaborations. For example, our Latinx student affinity groups from all 5 high schools joined forces to host Noche de Baile, which is a vibrant dance celebrating Hispanic heritage. Our Asian student unions united to organize an AAPI Heritage Month community event in May, sharing their culture with our whole SMSD community. For staff, these affinity groups play a role in retention, morale, and belonging. Currently, our 4 groups provide voluntary spaces for connection and support. And this year, they expanded their role by welcoming new team members at the new team member academy, fostering connection and inclusion on day 1. Now, student voice. It is at the heart of our commitment to equity and belonging, exemplified through initiatives as our Youth Equity Stewardship Program, which has meaningful collaborations with district leadership. And since its launch in 2022, YES has grown to include now 161 students across all high schools. These student leaders work alongside teacher sponsors and building administrators to advocate for equity and foster inclusivity. Through district-wide learning and school-based initiatives, they celebrate culture, promote belonging, and connect in diverse perspectives. This focus on school leaders has led to impactful outcomes, including updates to our district's discipline matrix and the development of the Say Something protocol. These changes were informed by roundtable discussions between our YES student leaders, principals, and district administrators, demonstrating the power of student voices. The Say Something protocol provides staff and our students with tools to address harmful language, foster safe, more inclusive spaces. Some of our YES students have actually expanded their leadership by collaborating with their building teams during our PD days and sharing these experiences alongside our staff to support learning and growth. So to provide a little deeper understanding of our YES program, we have a video to share with you all, and then I'm going to invite Maya Williams, our intern, to share a little bit more about her experiences as a student leader. What does his behavior tell?
YES stands for Youth Equity Stewardship, and it is a program that empowers our students to make their school environment even better. We believe that every student deserves to feel safe, to be seen, to be heard.
There we go. All right. Thank you.
What does his behavior tell?
YES stands for Youth Equity Stewardship, and it is a program that empowers our students to make their school environment even better. We believe that every student deserves to feel safe, to be seen, to be heard, and to feel like they belong at school.
People from all 5 high schools in the Shawnee Mission District come together, people that are leaders and people that are advocates for equality and equity in our schools and in the community. We come together to discuss how we can better promote equality in the entire district and in our individual schools.
So I've been here since freshman year. I keep on coming back because I want to see change in our schools, and I think this program helps us be the leaders we want to be.
The greatest thing about students is that they're incredibly honest, right? And so they will give you a perspective not only on their building, but I also heard some perspectives on our own building where areas that I thought we weren't very strong in, but our student perspective is that we are doing pretty well. Then there were other times where I thought, man, we're really great in this, and our kids were like, no, we could be a lot better.
It gives a space for youth to be introduced into the idea of talking about maybe harder topics. And I think that's really important because not often do youth get a space to talk and discuss these topics. Usually they're on the sidelines listening.
I am pleasantly surprised by the passion that the kids have for wanting to make sure that we are accepting of one another and making sure that all voices are heard, not just their subgroup. They're really wanting to come together to create a wholesome space for everyone in our school.
The connection and the friendship from people from other schools is really important.
I think it would be good to see different perspectives of people's life in different areas, like everybody coming together.
This is exactly what we're trying to do, is just have a place for everyone, a belonging for everybody. I mean, that's what equity means, right? Just, putting everybody on the same level, making sure we all belong. We're all different but the same at the same time.
I feel like when we're in the Yes group, we are like making some of the progress, and people don't realize it, but like we do really have a big impact.
Because you can't have change without creating change. So if you want to see change, you have to do something.
Yes is not only about creating student leaders, it is about creating compassionate and inclusive leaders who understand the strength of diversity and actively work toward creating a culture of belonging for all.
So I'm a my third year doing that, and then I'm the second intern for TIP. So as a student in Yes, our goal is to help people feel like they belong and foster a more inclusive environment within our district. Our sessions at the call held here have really taught me how to host a safe space for students from all different backgrounds every day. As a student leader, it's crucial to know your student body, help make activities that are welcome for everybody. And as an intern, I have a couple of different jobs. I help plan these Yes meetings. We just started a new Instagram page this year that I run along with Showman. I go to a couple like staff meetings, including the action team 2.3.2, and I've seen a lot of change throughout just this year and throughout all 3 years, all 3 of my years at Yes. And it's also given me a lot of opportunities, including educating students younger than me. That's one of my big goals this year. I want to help the environment around me, even though I won't be around next year. I want to leave an impact on them. I get to be a voice for students at my school and at the district. I just get to be a student voice at the district. I get to educate all staff members from a student perspective and offer a new perspective. And then I get many new learning opportunities, not only in a professional setting, but also just how I can bring my voice out. And then I get to build connections with many different students from different schools, different age groups, and throughout many different staff.
Thank you, Maya. We appreciate your voice as part of our story today. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. McKinney to share more about our team's work with mental health.
Good evening, Board. Thank you. The best school districts acknowledge and foster not only students' academic success and areas of need, but also their social, emotional, and mental health. Research tells us that when districts focus on student and staff mental health, they see enhanced connectedness among students, staff, and families. This results in improved classroom behavior, greater school engagement, and more positive peer relationships, all of which are connected to greater academic achievement and success. The Strategic Plan Action Team working on strategies 531 and 532 have been tasked with addressing ongoing mental health support for and within our schools, namely clarifying and defining mental health professionals' roles and job descriptions to ensure effective collaboration between these professionals, and also exploring opportunities to add counselors at the pre-K through 6th grade levels. This group of committed staff, students, and community members have met several times and has made significant progress toward addressing these very important areas. Additionally, to further ensure that students at all grade levels are receiving consistent social, emotional, and character development standards-based instruction, this school year, the district implemented Character Strong as a pre-K through 12 instructional resource. Character Strong's explicit, direct instruction is engaging and student-focused on 3 outcomes: be kind, be strong, and be well. Character Strong and its accompanying lessons, resources, and activities have been well received by teachers and students across all grade levels. Of course, while every staff member can and should play a role in the mental wellness of our students, their work is supported by a group of talented mental health professionals, our school's social workers and counselors. SMSD employs 57 master's and clinical level social workers and 40 counselors, including 5 real-world learning counselors. During the 23-24 school year, school counselors and social workers logged over 45,000 guidance-related interactions with classes and individual students in Skyward. This figure includes 11,894 entries categorized under social-emotional. During the current 24-25 school year, school counselors and social workers continue to meet and support the many and varied needs of SMSD students and families. And a quick note, you'll note the reduction in documented student contacts between 2022-23 school year and the 23-24 school year. This can be attributed to a greater understanding and use of Tier 1 supports at the classroom level, continuing lessening effects of the pandemic, and a greater understanding of and active use of deregulation practices by all staff. Not surprisingly, Shawnee Mission students and staff also participate in a number of mental health-related events and activities across the district. Here to tell us a bit more about 2 of these programs, 0 Reasons Why and Sources of Strength, are Shawnee Mission West social worker Catherine Harder and Shawnee Mission West senior Maya Williams.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. Sources of Strength and 0 Reasons Why, which work beautifully and complement one another, have really proven to be our best practice for promoting mental health and suicide prevention. What's special about both of these programs is they really center the student as leaders, empowering them to help not only themselves, but to be able to reach out and help those around them. And they do this by just chipping away at those persistent stigmas that continue to surround mental health. They do this by sharing their own personal stories and experiences. They learn how to find resources that are available all around them, but also what they already have inside of them. And they get to engage in some pretty fun activities that the students plan. Some of the highlights from this last year, I think, would be we did a color run, which was so fun, very messy, but super fun. We hosted a community forum at Shawnee Mission West. We have launched many, many school-wide campaigns, including snapshots of support and commitment days where they all sign off on their commitment to help and support mental health in our school. And this really allows students to know that it's okay to reach out and ask for help if they need it and when they need it. And this really improves outcomes across the board. So I'm happy to highlight Maya Williams once again. She's truly one of our most active student leaders and one of my personal favorites. She will tell us more about it.
So I work with both 0 Reasons Why and Sources of Strength to promote awareness across or incorrect misconceptions about teen mental health. Both groups have put on many events to encourage this change and build community among students. So this is my 5th year with Sources of Strength, and one big activity, like Ms. Harder said, that we did was the color run. So that was just to get students together, get our name out there about what we do, and then we also partnered with ASU just to get like a cultural, highlight the culture side of it. And then we also have one of my favorite things, it's the yearly peer leader training. This is where we talk about how to deal with our own mental health and how to be a strong outlet to anyone struggling with mental health. It's very helpful for everybody in the group. And then as a first-year student of Zero Reasons Why campaign, there's been many positive changes and events hosted, including also, like Ms. Harder said, the panel. This was a Johnson County, so anyone from Johnson County could be there. And I did a panel, and I just kind of talked about how I promote mental health, how I think it should be promoted, and answered many questions throughout there. Along with that, we just did a news segment with many members from Zero Reasons Why, where we all spoke about our experiences with mental health. Both groups are looking forward to hosting more fun and educational events this year to help spread the message.
Thanks to you both for your commitment to mental health in the Shawnee Mission School District. And we also want to take this opportunity to thank Johnson County Mental Health for their ongoing support in launching both of those programs and supporting our schools in their work around mental health and wellness. Next, I'd like to share a little bit about an event that a number of SMSD students and staff were fortunate enough to attend this fall. The Youth Leadership Summit is an annual event coordinated by Johnson County Mental Health Center and focuses on reducing underage alcohol and drug use, preventing suicide, promoting mental health, and encouraging healthy behaviors among youth in Johnson County. Equally important, it's designed to help teens grow as leaders. This past October, 34 students and 10 staff members representing every high school and middle school attended the event. And here to tell us a little bit more about the event is Memo Rodriguez.
I attended with students from Indian Woods Middle School. As a result of the event, the students worked as a team to develop a plan for their school to make posters and communicate with their peers around cyberbullying. The kids really liked the time and the activities. They related really well to the time and the opportunity to jump in and engage in support for their school and peers. Back to you, John, or Dr. Z. Go ahead and...
I'll close this out. So as you can see, there is an abundance of activities that we are helping support and removing barriers so that more can happen for our students and staff in the areas that we talked about this evening. Elevating student voice, belonging, safe, strong cultures for every student to thrive, and also focusing on increasing mental health resources in our schools. So as we close out the presentation, we share an abundance of gratitude to the team members here this evening, as well as those that we mentioned that are out in our schools that continue to serve our students and our community so well. We're proud of our continued work at the district and building level as we support many partnerships. You heard many times over tonight how important Johnson County Mental Health is to our district and helping facilitate some of the programs that are impacting every one of our middle schools and high schools, like Sources of Strength and Zero Reasons Why. Both of those were in partnership through Tim DeWeese's leadership and his amazing team at Johnson County Mental Health. So we believe our Student and Family Services continued efforts align directly with the district beliefs that are articulated on the strategic plan and before you on the screen. So thank you, board members, for allowing us to share a little bit of the continued work this evening. Thank you, Dr. Schumacher and Dr. Higgins, for supporting our team this year. And with that, we stand for any questions that you might have.
Did you have any initial comment?
No, just thanks to the team. It's always amazing to see the incredible work that's taking place for our kids and our staff across this district. So just thanks to the team. I love the matching shirts, too.
I know, yeah, that's great. You belong. Fantastic. This is actually one of my favorite updates, this report. It's very inspiring. Okay, I'm going to look to my fellow board members to see if anyone has any questions. To jump up. Yeah, Ms. Hembry?
Thank you guys so much. It was a fantastic presentation. I always look forward to this one every January-ish when you come. I know we have the strategic plan out there, and mental health is actually included for the first time as a specific priority area. So I'd love sort of a sneak peek of a year from now, what you think you might be sharing with us, sort of what's falling in your guys' lap from the strategic plan.
John, you want to start?
Catherine and I are both on the 531, 532 committee.
What is
And-
that? I don't know the numbers. You guys spout them
that
off
is,
like I do, but I don't have it memorized or tattooed on
clarifying roles and responsibilities of social workers, counselors, and school psychologists in their building,
Thank you.
and making sure that we have consistent job descriptions for each of those three areas, and the way that those three jobs work together within the building. And then the second part was looking into whether or not we want to pursue counselors at the pre-K through 6 grade levels, which of course in Shawnee Mission we currently don't have counselors at the elementary level. We've met 7 times, and for about an hour and a half each time, and they have been very robust, purposeful conversations. We have representation from our community members, from parents. We have students on the team, social workers, counselors, school psychologists, administrators, teachers. It's a very robust group. And we come together and have discussions. We've made our way through the job descriptions. We've made our way through kind of the way that those three mental health professional groups are going to collaborate with one another, their roles and responsibilities within the building. And we are now focused on the idea of potentially pursuing counselors at the pre-K through 6 level. And we feel confident that in the next meeting or two, we'll have some recommendations in that area as well. So it's been a really great group to be a part of. Catherine, anything you want to add to any of that? Okay. That's where we are. So I can't tell you exactly what the recommendations will be, but I can tell you we're making a lot of progress.
I'll also add to that, I'll use strategy 521 and 523 were scheduled to start last 9 weeks. And so those are around those community inventories and the well-being resource hub that we had talked about as action steps. So those action teams have started to meet and begun the work. And those are the key strategy areas that are on for this year. So if I forecast a year ahead, it'll be in those 2 key areas.
Thank you so much.
All right, yeah, Ms. Boyd-Norena?
Before we get too much into other questions from our dais here, Maya, my dear, I'm encouraged just by you being here and showing up and being authentic in this space. The question is, you're a senior, what are your plans to leverage this experience and to go forth doing what you're doing now on another level after you graduate?
So, since I was like in 6th grade, I had a big dream of going to HBCU. So I'm actually attending Howard University next year. And I just plan to take everything I've learned from Shawnee Mission and just like my internship and YES in general, taking it to the next level, and then also inspiring other people. So I'm going to be an athletic trainer, and I just want to inspire students that I'm going to be working with. And I've always just wanted to inspire people younger than me and lead a mark. And I think going to Howard is going to be one of the biggest ways I can do that and gain more experience as well as just like drop what I've learned so far too on this journey.
Well, the world is yours, my dear.
Thank you.
The world is yours. I have other questions, but I'll let someone else.
Mr. Garcia?
Yeah, thank you so much for this whole presentation. I'm so grateful to be a part of a school district that values this hard work that is belonging and everything that encapsulates that world. I have a specific question about regarding counselors and social workers and some of the data that we have in front of us. It was slide number 17. If we're out of it, it's okay. Student contacts from 2022 and 2023 school year, it went down by a good number in 23-24. And I want to know, I guess it's a kind of a hard question, because in the same manner, the SEL-related interactions went up from those 2 school years. Can you maybe help us understand how or what that might imply just in the greater scheme of
Yeah, I
things?
can give you a
If you might.
hypothesis because it's the first time that we've seen the trend go that direction. And
Okay.
so we're, after communicating with the social workers and counselors about that, we see a consistent, steady increase. Obviously, the pandemic 2021, but we saw a steady increase from that point on, and we added social workers during that time as well. So it was interesting to see the dip in the number of student contacts that were entered into Skyward, but the SEL-related numbers stay consistent. And so we attribute that to greater Tier 1 support, use of Tier 1 resources and supports at the classroom level. They may not be making it to the social workers and counselors quite yet, whereas in previous years they had. And so I attribute that to the curriculum that we're using, the SECD standards that we're applying, teachers and paraprofessionals and our certified staff and classified staff really taking ownership of those Tier 1 supports and meeting students where they are and not just sending them to the office for social workers and counselors to address. It doesn't mean that we're seeing less social emotional related interactions with social workers and counselors. It's evidenced by that part of the data staying the same. But I do think that we're doing a better job of addressing some of those concerns that used to just be sent to the office or used to be resolved solely by social workers and counselors at the classroom level before they make their way to the social workers and counselors. I think we're going to see more of that thanks to Character Strong. We also are attributing some of it to the further we're moving away from the pandemic, the further we're moving away from some of the issues that the pandemic created that resulted in interactions with the social workers and counselors. Anything else, Catherine?
This is a total theory hypothesis on my part, but I'm a social worker. I see students from bell to bell every single day. But one thing that I really love about working in Shawnee Mission District is because we do have such a strong supportive community, it may be that we're able to spend more time with each student individually and we're not just putting out fires. We can be thoughtful and actually spend quality time with our students, putting together interventions, talking through things, advocating on their behalves. Like it might be that.
And we'll keep an eye on the data and continue to look for trends.
Sure. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that, actually. I mean, it sounds like our teachers and staff at every building benefits from some of the professional development that you all are providing them in regard to this work. So
I really think that's true. I really do think that it's more of a building-wide effort now than just go see the social worker and counselor.
Any other questions? Ms. Owsley?
This is a question related to the attendance data. Are we tracking like the differences in the absenteeisms related to excused and unexcused absences? Like, do we have the breakdown for, what is excused related to health appointments or health concerns or something to that effect versus like we have an issue related to something else, I guess is what I'm asking. So do we narrow in on the data enough to see that difference?
We have the ability to look at the data. Each building is responsible for looking at their data and on their own. Really, because of that chronic absentee number, and we're barely into a year, we've been focused on serving the students that fall under that chronic absenteeism. Now, with that, as we start to get to know their needs, then we can start to differentiate between some of our students that might have ongoing therapeutic appointments that are necessary. And then we've gotten better about helping our buildings understanding what to do with that data and how to code that so that it can fall into meeting the needs of the student. Maybe we're looking at a different schedule to meet their needs, or whether or not some of those should be coded as the way they had been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't gotten specific enough to break down the number of excused versus unexcused specifically, because the way we are looking at it is at the student level at each building.
I'm not sure I'm understanding looking at it at the student level in each building. Like what are we meaning by that? Like
I look at it as in terms of individualized needs for every kid. So when we're looking at individual students and their attendance data, That's when we start to go through and look as a team as to what's happening, what are the resources that this student or family might need, are we meeting their needs, what do we need to do differently? And so the attendance specialists are part of that team to break down the communication and make sure that we're getting the right resources for families to meet their needs.
And so when does that happen? Does that happen before a warning of truancy letter goes out? Like, at what phase in the process does that occur?
As soon as we start seeing a group of absences, we start to make contact with those individuals. I'm on a daily basis looking for unexcused absences because I want to either know what happened with the individual on a person-to-person basis, or I'll reach out to their parents via telephone, phone call, or email. So we start tracking them immediately. If their parents calling them out, then it's an excused absence, and there's not much we can do there. I'm mainly looking for a lot of the unexcused absences. As they start to accumulate so many excused absences and they start heading towards 7-10 days, I start to reach out to the parents as well, letting them know that they'll be receiving a warning letter and what that means, what that entails.
Is it 10 absences for the semester or 10 absences for the academic year to reach truancy?
It's for the academic year.
For the entirety of the academic year. Okay, I could go with further questions, but I might reserve them to ask follow-ups later. I just am looking at some of the data that's been drilled down on student performance with unexcused versus excused. It does appear that students with excused absences don't suffer some of the same performance issues as students with the unexcused absences. And so I think that absence is unfortunate, whether excused or unexcused, if it's to the level of reaching 10% of your academic calendar. But with regards to priority focus on where we need to be meeting needs, like where are we catching families who need assistance and what are the services we're providing to get them there? So like the truancy letter, if we aren't touching base with people prior to the issues, I mean, there are people who don't know the truancy policy to begin with, or even that they could be turned over to a truancy officer or face potential legal consequences for that. So there's people who don't even have that information, but then like folks with excused absences are probably dealing with a very different set of circumstances, also requiring support from the district,
Yes.
also needing access to services potentially.
Yes.
But the approach may be very different. And I don't know that we've drilled down yet to see, as a practice district-wide, how are we meeting that need? And that's not are we doing it or not? That's kind of me thinking out loud, like, is that something we are looking towards as we move forward, just because chronic absenteeism is such a huge issue?
I do believe that is how the team is functioning right now. For example, if we start seeing a trend of unexcused absences and we're not seeing a child come to school, and that is atypical behavior, and we can't get a hold of a parent or a family member in emergency contacts, then part of our protocol now is we do home visits. We take another person with us. We have a partner protocol in place, and we're going to try and find out, what are we missing, what's going on. So making sure that we're not having eyes on kids and going as far as going to the home. That's something that hadn't been in place prior to this school year. Also working with families that once they start approaching the 10, we talk about the 10, getting the letter of a 10 or getting to the point where you're reaching truancy should not be a surprise. So communication needs to be coming from the school sooner, not later. And getting a letter that you've reached truancy by the district attorney's definition and state statute, that shouldn't be the first instance where we're aware of that. Right. No, that is part of our protocol that is different this year.
And that's improved this year. That's changed this year. I appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks for the question.
Other questions? So I had just a couple observations and a question. I had the opportunity on a Thursday morning visit, I think I was with you, and saw the Character Strong in action in one of the elementary classrooms, and one of the student, they were in circle time in the morning getting started, and one of the students led kind of almost like a breathing exercise or something, I can't remember. It was just so great to see those kids at that young of age so empowered to be able to do that for themselves and their classmates. So I loved that. I've noticed, so there's been a growth both in the equity practitioners. I think that started like at 33 was the initial goal, and it's now up to 70. And there's been a growth, Ms. Williams, in the number of students participating in YES. That's up to, what, 160 now across the district? That is super powerful. Can you all speak to where you're seeing that growth or interest, or how that's having an impact on what we're able to do with the growth in numbers?
Yeah, I will start with the equity practitioners. So I think for the staff side of it, it was an initial group of that 33, and we have built it up now to be at least one staff member per building. There are some buildings, especially at the secondary level, that have more than one person that kind of share that role, since we do meet monthly. So I think that's where the growth in the numbers kind of come from there. Just the secondary buildings are so much bigger. So having one person on that could be a bit of a challenge. I also have a lot of YES sponsors who are also sometimes practitioners, so involved in multiple capacities. And then I think for the students, the biggest growth that we see here is from word of mouth. I mean, the kids that are part of the program and then go back and tell, their other friends what it's like and how meaningful it is to them is huge. Wes specifically has so many kids that, we fill this boardroom. I have had to be incredibly creative on how to set up the tables for the space in here. And West has now a kind of a subgroup of students that don't necessarily meet here, but they attend the school-based meetings. I think they have close to 40 kids involved at West, based on the kids that meet at the district level and then also are part of their subgroup. So they are the ones that are sharing the work that we're doing and how they can be involved not only on the district side of it, but also like bringing that back to their schools and what are we going to do with this effort, at Shawnee Mission West, at Shawnee Mission North. So I think that's a big ode to our student leaders.
Yeah. Can I ask Ms. Williams, do you see, with the growth of YES and kind of that energy at the school building level, do you see a potential for the students who are in YES to be interacting with some of the other student groups so that other student organizations are really thinking about how to grow their sense of welcoming and belonging within the work some of those other student groups are doing?
Yeah, we do a lot of that through events just to get students engaged in wanting to do something. So we get to engage with our what we do in YES, we take a lot to our separate clubs. So I'm the president of BSU, so I'll take a lot of what we do, and I'll take it to the BSU, and we'll take it to our LOT and our ASU.
And those are what?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Black Student Union, Asian Student Union, and Latinos of Tomorrow. So we have a lot of our student leaders of those groups in YES, and then we just take that to our personal groups. And YES at our school also plans a lot of events. So we do our Culture Fest, which we just started last year, and I believe that's what got a lot of people wanting to do YES in the first place. And then we've also just started a lot of community building, and I believe that's what's making people want to grow and join YES.
Great, thank you. Oh, Ms. Bordnerina.
Caitlin, I think you were talking about the Belonging Resource Hub. Now, who is that for? Is that students, educators, who
For our staff members.
Okay.
So it's basically, presentations that we've done in terms of awareness and heritage months, information that staff can go out on there that we send that information for Black History Month, right? But I don't want that to be the only time that they go look at it. So what are some other opportunities that they can engage that learning, all year long? So that hub is going to be, our practitioner team is kind of working on how to build up the resources there that are accessible to so it is in our staff portal for all staff to be able to access.
Thank you, Caitlin. And Memo, one last thing. Got to give a shout out for the 22 to 18% decrease in that chronic absenteeism.
Thank you.
Pause, first of all, because I know that is huge.
Yeah.
But you really piqued my interest when you were talking about following students and families. And I applaud your efforts, the team's effort, in starting with awareness versus the blaming or whatever, but starting with that authentic awareness of, do you know what this means and the impacts and things of that sort? I think that, looking from the outside in, probably was a key factor there as well to that decrease.
Most definitely. Most of the kids or parents that I've spoken to had no idea there was such a policy in place. So a lot of times we're educating, informing, and you're right, there is no blame. You know, approach determines response. I'm just spreading the word. I'm not the one telling you the state of Kansas is, ma'am. You know, that's I say that a lot. So.
Thank you. Thank you all.
I'd add, Mr. Rodriguez, I spent about 15 years of my professional life working with attendance specialists, and I think one of the pieces that's so powerful of what you can do is letting kids know, hey, we're paying attention and we want you here, and we need you here, and we notice that you're not here, so what can we do to get you to school? So I think that's a really powerful message to let those students know that we are paying attention to them and we want them in school. So that's...
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Every day we greet these kids and we say, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're here.
Yep.
You know, we just spread that word.
It's important. All right. Okay, thank you so much. We could talk with you all for a lot longer, but I'm sure everyone's ready to keep moving. So, we
Yeah,
good? Okay.
thanks to the team. Just as they're wrapping up, anything that we do in this school district ought to be in service to student achievement. Clearly, the work of this team is serving student achievement, no doubt about that. And I just want to echo what Mr. Garcia said too. So proud to work in a district that embraces belonging and the fact that we want all of our kids and our staff to feel a sense of belonging in our district. So thanks to the team for pushing that forward.
Thank you. All right. As we are transitioning here, our next discussion item is the personal electronic devices, item 3.2. Turn that back to you, Dr. Schumacher.
Yeah, this is me. And so I've got a couple guests with me that'll come up here in a little bit. But as you all are aware, this is the second time we're having this discussion as a community. We talked at length about this in December. So I'm going to try to be pretty quick through the beginning of this presentation and then spend a little bit more time on the end. You do have 2 action items to consider in relation to this presentation. So the presentation agenda, I'm going to spend just a little bit of time talking about the past presentation, just so if someone is tuning in cold tonight, they have a little bit of context. But again, we spent a significant amount of time talking about this in December. The tasks that we took on as an administrative team since that time were the following. So we were tasked with creating or editing the draft policy we brought to you in December, specifically better defining what devices were, personal electronic devices, better defining what instructional time was. Secondly, there was a task to take a look at our discipline matrix and to make any edits to it, should this policy be approved by you tonight. And then thirdly, we were tasked with creating some communication documents, again, should the policy pass. We will bring those to you tonight. An additional task that we identified were the student handbooks. We quickly realized that if we're going to change the discipline matrix, we had to bring back to you the student handbooks because that's where the discipline matrix lives. And so you're going to see that tonight as well. So again, just to quickly go through the past presentation, this recommendation is brought to us by our strategic plan, specifically Strategy 4. Strategy 4 is around technology, that we will ensure intentional and innovative use of relevant technology throughout the district to achieve our mission. Specifically, Shelley, you can go to the next one. Action Team 4.1.3 addressed this, and as you guys know, Dr. Lowe and Ms. Warren headed up that group. We had several community members, teachers, administrators, students, parents, community members involved in that group. They met a number of times over the course of the fall. They quickly divided up into 2 groups to look at that age-appropriate use of technology, and those 2 groups were elementary and secondary. They did thorough research over those 6 times. They created a Google folder, and of course that is an internal piece, but they did a tremendous amount of research during this time. And we surveyed our community, and so that thought exchange gave us a lot of feedback. And you know that we spent a lot of time going over that data at the last presentation. The one piece I did pull out was this word cloud that we saw. And one of the things I leaned into with you last time was that consistency piece, that we wanted consistency across all of our schools, all of our classrooms, and then the other piece was enforcement, right? What can we reasonably enforce, and what can we be consistent about across this great school district? So the action team did bring to the superintendent and to the executive leadership team 3 separate recommendations. Their goal initially was to bring a universal K-12 recommendation, but as you'll remember, they were unable to do that. I also leaned into this idea, and it's in the strategic plan, that this was supposed to be an age-appropriate policy. And so I do think it's commendable that they brought to us 3 separate recommendations, one for elementary, one for middle, and one for high. So as a reminder, their recommendation for elementary was that all personal devices are to be stored in backpacks between 7:50 and 3:10. That's the school day. For middle school, Shelley, thanks. That cell phones would be stored, or personal electronic devices would be stored within the student's locker or designated area during the school day, and that's that first attendance period to the end of the school day or dismissal time. And as a reminder, the high school recommendation, they were truly split, as is our community. And we heard that tonight in public comment, that there's just not consistency across our community. So it's not surprising that this team was unable to come to an agreement fully on their high school recommendation. So as a reminder, there was 2 basic approaches that they were split on. That one was that strict bell-to-bell phone-free policy, and the other one was protecting that instructional time or class period recommendation. So we did ask the facilitators to give us a breakdown of where their action team stood. And as a reminder, they were in full agreement with their elementary recommendation. They were in full agreement with the middle school recommendation. But again, as mentioned, they were split right down the middle for the high school. 6 in favor of solely protecting that instructional time, and 5 in favor of that bell-to-bell proposal. As we received that recommendation at the executive level, we determined 5 specific criteria that we would look at in bringing forward to you a policy recommendation for your consideration. So we spent quite a bit of time hashing this out, and as I mentioned with the previous presentation, anything that we do in the school district ought to serve student achievement. So that was the number 1 thing that we listed. What approach will serve student achievement? How do we protect instructional time without fail? What can we realistically enforce? We, of course, spent quite a bit of time looking at that. What can be realistically enforced? And consideration, and we talked about this too, needs to be given to the time of year, right? This is January. Consideration needed to be given to that. And how can we ensure consistent consequences, again, across every building, every classroom, no matter what? And then start to think about teaching that healthy, responsible habits and digital citizenship. And one thing that we didn't add here, but I did call out, was, again, that age-appropriate use. That an approach for a kindergartner, in my opinion, should not be the same for a senior. They have different abilities, they have different approaches towards personal electronic devices, and in my opinion, we should approach our policy with that consideration. So this is my recommendation, or this is the recommendation that I brought to you in December. Quickly, my recommendation was that we honor exactly what the elementary recommendation was from the action team, and that is that personal electronic devices would be stored during the school day. Middle schools, same thing. The nuance or the slight deviation from the recommendation, and this is coming from the middle school principals, and Mr. Engler may be able to speak to this, was that we're going to allow them to check their cell phones during passing periods in their locker. This is the practice that's currently taking place. We felt like that was an age-appropriate response for kids. And it also comes down to what can we reasonably enforce. Again, think about 800 kids at Trowridge in the hallway. How can we possibly not allow that. It would be too much to manage. And then third, high school, considering those 5 previous criteria, my recommendation was to protect that instructional time, and so that personal electronic devices would be put away during the instructional time. So this is the new information for you, and again, this lives in Action 6.1. So minor changes, you can see that they're redlined there. The second paragraph there is our attempt to define what a personal electronic device is. You can see what we added there. Some minor changes, but we think it better defines what that personal electronic device is. The third paragraph, there was a lot of back and forth on this in our attempt to define the school day. At one point, we had specific times in there. It was becoming way too clunky, for lack of a better term, and there's just so many different schedules that we have. There's an early release, there's late start, there's maybe a pep assembly schedule, so we thought it would paint us into a corner with specific times. So we did add that last piece to include the entirety of scheduled class periods, and I'm going to touch on that a little bit more in an upcoming slide. The second part of the policy, again, you can see only one red line change. We added for middle schools that same verbiage from elementary about headphones. I did get a question from a couple board members about why we didn't include that for high school, and the rationale is this. For elementary and middle, we're not allowing headphones at all during the school day, except for when it benefits student learning. So we wanted to call that out. For high schools, there are times that they could use their headphones, and that would be during passing period, lunch, late start, things like that. So we didn't feel like it was appropriate to call that out in that high school section. So that's the reason for that difference there. Switching over to the discipline matrix. So this slide here is solely just for informational purposes. The next slide will, let me spend a little bit more time on that, Shelley. Thanks. The next slide will give you some details here, but for your reference, we list specific administrative responses for noncompliance within the discipline matrix. So the ones that impact personal electronic devices for the first offense are A through D, and so for your information, that's there. For severe or repeated offenses, that's E through K. So we did have some discussion as to what would be the furthest extent to which we could respond to a student for noncompliance, and within the discipline matrix, it would be in-school suspension. Okay, and so that's our recommendation, and that is consistent with current and past practice. So if you go to the next slide, this is what you'll see as a change in the student handbook related to the discipline matrix. This is the action chart for level 1. Previously, principals, if there was noncompliance with a personal electronic device, they would handle it within Area 8. We felt like with the addition potentially of a new policy, that it should live on its own. So that is, we added 11. And you can see that the administrative response is the same levels there, A through D, and then E through K. So that those first two sections are for the first response, or the first offense, and then the next two to the right are for repeated offenses. So with that, I want to call on a couple friends here to talk about boots on the ground work that we plan to do with reinforcing these expectations and the support that we'll provide our teachers. So I'm going to call up Ms. Witt. Stephanie's the principal at Brookridge, and she's going to talk about our elementary response.
Good evening. I am Stephanie Witt, principal of Brookridge Elementary in the South feeder pattern, and also I am a parent in Shawnee Mission. My son is a senior at South, and so I see this through that lens as well. I feel that the elementary position, because it is so close to what we currently have, I feel very comfortable with how it reads. I feel like it's something that our teachers are very supportive of, that we have things in place already in the building to make sure that we are able to deal with situations, which I will say are few and far between, where students have a phone or an Apple Watch, that is being used during the day. And so this is not anything that will be new in terms of how we handle those situations. I think it is crucial for the protection of that instructional time that we just take away as many distractions as we can. And I think that in that sense, at the elementary level, it makes perfect sense, and it's right in line with how we are both trying to teach kids about responsibility with devices and digital citizenship, but also making sure that we are supporting that they that we know that developmentally this is a hard time, and we're working with them as well, instructing them about how to deal with that electronic world. So I'm very comfortable with the policy, and I do fully support that.
Thank you. Mr. Engler is here from Trowridge. He's a principal there. And Matt, take it away.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you for having me here to answer questions and to speak about this. When I think about how we can help support this, the first thing that kind of crosses my mind is how are we going to implement that? I want to assure you that the middle school principals, we've had these conversations for years, but over the summer we really started meeting and saying, hey, we've got to get tight as all 5 middle schools, as tight as possible. So we started having those discussions then, and we actually started making some pretty big transitions starting back in August. I'm happy to report that for the most part, we are very, very close to this proposal. I think all middle schools will have to make a slight adjustment, some a little bit bigger than others, but the majority of us are very close to this proposal. And I think all of our staff and our administrators are very comfortable with what this proposal could bring. Most importantly, it's going to empower us as staff to really protect that instructional time, which I think is why we're all here in education. And so I also feel like at the middle school level, this is a very age appropriate. It allows us to again, protect that instructional time, but also allows our students to know that the appropriate and responsible time will be during that passing period while they're at their locker, and being able to make that response to maybe a parent or, hey, practice got canceled, and then being able to put that back in their locker and go focus on their next class period. All 5 middle school principals have had a lot of discussions over the last 4 or 5 weeks about what it would look like if we start to make this transition mid-year. And again, most of us are already practicing very close to this proposal, but we have already discussed plans on how we would communicate that with our staff and some of these slight changes, but also how we would communicate it with students and help teach what those new procedures are going to need to look like, and then how we communicate that with our community as well. Again, overall, I feel like our students, we were really nervous going into August when we made some of these tougher shifts, but what I was blown away by is how well our students responded to it. And so I'm very confident, and I know the other middle school principals are as well, that our students are going to rise up to the challenge for this as well. And I think it's also, personally, I think it's going to be freeing for them to be able to get to their classrooms and to focus on what's happening there without the constant buzz or whatever notification might be coming across that device. So we are, I feel like, in a really good spot to be able to implement this should this proposal be approved.
Thank you, Matt. Jason Pearies from Shawnee Mission East. He's our high school representative. So, Mr. Pearies.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on this matter. At Shawnee Mission East, and in conjunction with the other high school principals as well, we've been also talking about this at great lengths for what seems like an endless amount of time. What I would say at the high school level, just a little different than my colleagues. You could walk into a high school class today and you would see something like this right now, but you would also see something a little different. We have teachers that don't allow a cell phone in any capacity, and they focus on instruction bell to bell from the start to finish of their class. You would also see in other classes where sometimes the cell phone is actually used for instructional purposes. Sometimes it's used for some sort of a media inside the classroom. Whatever they see fit, you know. You would also see some teachers who use it a little differently to where cell phones are normal in their classroom. What I think the beauty of a policy like this would be that is it really establishes our clear purpose, and that is to consistently and reasonably protect instructional time for student learning and help our students become the best digital citizens possible. If we were to implement this at the high school level starting this semester, we would just have to be clear and precise with our implementation plan. We would have to communicate that to our students, our staff members, and our families. We would have to help coach our students because it would be a change for them and a change at mid-year where we had one set of expectations and then now we're bringing in a second set of expectations. I do think that could present some concerns and some difficulties, but I do think those would all be achievable and we could do it. You know, it's doable. We would have to also just give some of our staff members some resources that they might utilize in their rooms to help house or a receptacle of some sort for phones if they choose to go that route. And then I think probably as much as possible, we really need to give our staff and our students and our families some grace to implement this strategy mid-year and just help to continue to coach them to be the best digital citizens that they can be. I do feel like it's difficult, but I do feel like it's very doable. And so at the high school level, we would implement this with fidelity. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Our principals will be here to answer any questions you have as well as we conclude this presentation. So the last part around the student handbook, I mentioned this, that we wanted to edit anything that would address cell phone use, and so there is a section at the very end of the student handbook, and so we made a few edits there to reference the potential add of policy JCDC. Did a little cleanup on the benefit of learning, and then referenced that they could find more information about the policy on the website. That's the high school. Same thing could be said for middle school. Just a little bit of cleanup around there to represent absolutely everything we'd be doing. And then this is mirrored at the elementary level as well. Finally, district communications. So our communications team is as good as it gets. The graphic that you see on this slide represents how we would start communicating this tonight, should you pass this. We talked about internal and external communication. They have a very detailed plan on how this will occur, both through social media, emails to staff and students and parents, continuous communication throughout this implementation period. Mr. Smith is here if you have any questions about those specific plans. Since we started talking about this, we talked about providing our principals and our teachers some runway, if you will, to get this up to speed given the time of year. And so should you pass this tonight, we would ask for 3 weeks to give us some time for our principals to meet with their staff. I know there's a staff meeting tomorrow. There's another one, I think, on the 28th, at least for the high school. To give them time to have some of these conversations with their staff or ongoing conversations with their staff and with their kids. And then we would expect full implementation of this plan or this policy by February 3rd. I would also commit to you that we would continue to get feedback with our principals, from our staff, from our kids on the success of this plan. Of course, we wouldn't bring it to you if we didn't think it would be successful, but we will come back to you at the end of the school year and provide you an update on how we did, on how effective this was, how we were able to implement it, how we were able to consistently provide a response to students at that end of the school year. I know there's, a debate on if this is far enough or if it's too far. We're split as a community, right? We believe that this is the best approach for us right now. and that it will be successful in providing us the best learning environment possible for our students so that they can achieve at the highest possible levels. There's one other piece I did want to add. I'm sorry I missed a slide, but we did talk about that. We defined what a typical school day was, and so at the elementary level, that was a 7:50 start. At the middle school level, it was 8:45. That was the beginning of mascot hour. And at the high school level would be 7:40. So that's on a typical day, but of course that would change depending on a late start, early release, things like that. I do want to add too for Mr. Perry's, for actually all of them. So there will be a change here too. So if I'm a biology teacher and which I was, and I delivered my presentation, my whatever I did, and I provided my students some work time. At this point, before this policy, I could allow them to get out their cell phones, listen to earbuds, and do their work. If this policy is passed, that is no longer an option for our teachers to do that. It's any use of a personal electronic device, as we've defined it, would be prohibited unless it benefited student learning. So that's going to be a change for our staff. And so I think that is another example of how we're going as far as we can to provide that guarded instructional time at all of our levels. So with that, I think that's it. Is that the last slide, Shelley? Yeah. So I will take any questions, and then of course our principals are here too if you have any questions for them.
Okay, I'm looking. Does anybody have any questions? Mr. Westbrook.
I do. I have had skepticism about the wisdom of this policy, so I don't want to act like I have a card up my sleeve. I don't. I continue to have some skepticism, but I have a question. We have MacBooks, I believe, that are issued to our students now. Could someone tell me how would a smartphone do something that a MacBook could not do for a student as a partner, as a technology partner in their learning? What does the smartphone give to the student as an educational partner that the MacBook doesn't provide?
Mr. Pierce jumped up and he's ready to answer that question.
Yeah.
I'm all ears.
Yeah, I don't consider myself an expert on the two technologies, but what I can tell you that I would see in my high school is that the ease of use of a cell phone, especially when it's related to doing some sort of a recording or the creation of a video, the cell phone is just a quicker and easier way to do that in the school. A lot of times, especially if you think about our journalism students who want to go and do an interview and record something, the ease of use with the applications from a cell phone they're just too easy. And when it's easy and convenient, it's more likely to get done and get done better. So it is possible that a student could use that cell phone and do something quicker and faster than they could if they were using their laptop. I'm sure there's a way to use the laptop to record something and create a video and record the video as well. I don't personally know how to do that, if I'm being honest with you, but I do know how to do that on my phone. And I think our kids find it easier and faster to do it on their phone as well. That's one application. I'm sure there are many more. I just don't know them. So I don't know if that even answers your question.
Dr. Dennis?
I'll give you one more. The Introduction to Data Science course includes collecting data using personal device and then analyzing that data. So that's built into our curriculum.
Do we anticipate, as we move down this path, do we anticipate developing something, and I'm going to make this sound far simpler than it is, but let me just throw this out. Do we anticipate developing something called a cell phone etiquette curriculum of some sort? I mean, we used to train kids on penmanship. That is not something that I'm sentimental. I won the penmanship contest in the state of Canada, so I'll have you know, years ago. And so I'm not going to take a sentimental journey back there, but we have a new technology here. Do we anticipate taking a role in playing a proactive role where we might help people become more literate in the effective use of that technology?
So I can't speak specifically to that question. However, Action Team 4.1.3, their work was broader than this narrow look. It was well beyond this, frankly. So we asked them to zero in on this now they're going back to look at the bigger ask of them, which would be the appropriate use of technology across all levels, all technology. So I could anticipate them coming up with something like this, but that's going to be the work of that group.
Dr. Sinclair, I don't want to dominate here. If you have a couple more questions?
Sure, yeah, I was just thinking of just how that relates to like digital citizenship, which is something that we've been focused on for, quite a while. So anyways, I'm sorry, my mind was off thinking about that from your question. Yeah, please go ahead.
I think this is a really tough issue. And so, if I were Socrates, which I am not, but he would say, the only way to learn is through the oral tradition, and he would oppose writing instruments in the classroom. I'm not that arcane. I think that this is an extraordinary technology. We need to figure out the best and most healthy way to harness it. I worry, though, about the phone being so accessible that it becomes a distraction rather than a partnership instrument. And so I see what the proposal is for the junior highs, the middle schools, and I understand that kids, we think, would have easy enough access to their lockers that they could get to the locker, check a message, respond to the message. If there's a little bit of planning between mom and dad and the kids, that is going to take care of that. Have there been objections raised to the distance between the locker and the convenient access that these youngsters are going to want to their mobile phones during the day? Apparently that's manageable.
Matt, can you rephrase that question one more time?
Well, the locker is not always going to be the most convenient place for me to go to get access to my phone. So I'm going to have to learn as a student, there are going to be times of the day when I'm going to be closer to that locker than other times, and that's the time when I'm going to have to check in. And if I have some message that I need to get from parents, that they understand that's going to be the check-in time for me. Are we assuming there's going to be a little bit of coaching on how that's going to work? Because the locker's not going to always be outside the math room the math classroom when I want to get to that locker and get to that phone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the part of our job is teaching that responsible use, and that's what I like about this proposal at the middle school level, is that I feel like age-appropriate wise is we are saying there is a point in the day that you can check that real quick, and then we are going to go ahead and put it back in the locker to eliminate any possibility of, those constant notifications posing a disruption to that learning environment when we get back to class. So we do teach our students, and we have been, that's kind of part of that digital citizenship piece of responsible use, and that involves responsible time of use as well. Like when we're thinking about when our students are adults and they're sitting in a meeting, that checking their phone during the meeting is not the responsible time. But we also understand that life happens, right? And that there are emergencies. And so what we communicate with our students too is if something comes up to where I need to get a hold of, or if in between passing period, I check my phone and there's a text from mom that is an emergency text that I need to call mom now, or I need to check in, that the way that we prefer that happens is they come down to the office, and we have phones down there that they can utilize the phone to reach out. And that way we also have the resources that if it were some kind of emergency that is maybe more emotional or tragic, that we've got resources right there to help support that student through that as well. I don't know if that answered the question, I hope.
It helps, yeah.
Okay,
it helps.
thank you.
Well, I guess my sum-up comment would be that we have 35 hours or so a week that we're with our students, and there are 148 or 68 hours in a week, 24 hours a day if you add them up. I didn't do the math quite right. I think it's 168. It's about 20% of the time in a week that we're with our kids in school. I just think sometimes we make these things more complicated than they really are. And I think the convenience of communicating with our families is very important. We value convenience over quality often in our lives, go to McDonald's and have a quarter pounder, and I'll show you evidence of that. It's not quality that you buy when you go get a fast food to a restaurant. You go there because you want to eat something fast. So I really respect the convenience that we've come to rely on through the smartphone, and that we are in an instant communication society now where when we want to talk with someone, reach out to someone, be with someone, we establish protocols with our friends, our family, and others, and they expect that we are going to be pretty much available because that's what we've set as an expectation for them. I would like to think that we could set an expectation in our society that for the 35 hours a week we have our kids, their primary purpose is to partner with us to help in their social, emotional, and educational development. And I think that technology can be a partner in that process. I'm not so sure the convenience and social purposes that are served by the smartphone trump the importance of the importance of us to being devoted 35 hours a week to education as a primary function. There's other technology available that is accessible to kids that can be used to communicate with parents. I believe the MacBook can do that. You can't carry it through the hall easily and probably can't use it well, but it is there. And protocols can be established that set expectations that I think are reasonable. I think the smartphone is insidious, and I think it is an instrument that can be extremely helpful. Other technologies are there that can play that role. I think that other technologies, though, are not necessarily there to play the, shall we say, more unhelpful role that a smartphone can play. It's unregulated. And the technology that we would use in the classroom to help education is regulated. And I think we do have some regulatory obligation when our kids are entrusted to us to take care of their education and emotional development for 35 hours a week or so. So that's a long-winded explanation for why I just can't be enthusiastic about this proposal. I am very enthusiastic about the goodwill that is intended by the development of this proposal. I cannot understate the challenges of this problem. It's a sophisticated problem. It holds a lot of complications associated with implementation on it. But I know there are other places in the world that have adopted what is called a phone-free school environment, where the exceptions are not how we start the policy, but instead the phones are out of the school, and then we decide in what role can we use other technology to replace what the phone could be useful for, and under what circumstances are there health issues that would require a phone to be present with the student because their health would be at risk without its monitoring capabilities. And I respect those. I think those are exceptional, not the rule. So I think we need to work more on this. I can't give this proposal my vote. I'm going to abstain, which by Robert's rules is a vote of no. But I'm technically going to abstain because I just don't have enthusiasm, and I think we need to work more on it. And I would welcome proposals after we've evaluated this one to see where there might be places where it could get better. And working in good faith toward that, I would hope I could be more enthusiastic about going a little farther with this. But for now, I'm going to tell you that I'm not convinced. I am convinced of the good energy that's been devoted to this. I'm convinced people are working hard to do the right thing by our kids. And I just want, with a smile on my face but sincerity in my heart, to encourage harder work and more inventiveness to a better solution. So I appreciate you listening and appreciate your answers to my questions. They're not intended to be harsh or disrespectful. This is really, really tough work.
All right, do we have Mr. Garcia?
Just looking at the district the communications team put together this wonderful flyer here. I wanted to ask about the process in which our admin, in rare cases, will approve exceptions and what that process is just going to look like. Is that a recommendation from a teacher in their own room, asking that of our admin to allow them to, their students to be on their phone? I'm thinking of specifically the student councils or student leadership groups that work maybe more in social media during their day to, let's just say, post something on Instagram from the Shawnee Mission West class of 2025 Instagram page to ensure that communication is sent out to the people that follow them. Very specific example, but I'm just thinking about those social aspects. Or maybe that's not appropriate anymore, but just kind of wanted to know about those rare cases and how that will happen.
I'll give two general answers, and if the principals have any more specifics. So if it's a request to have access to personal electronic devices in a general sense, that would come from a request from the student or from the parent through our 504 process that Dr. McKinney talked about last time. As far as individual one-off situations, that would be upon teacher discretion. So we would work with them on what that looks like, what an appropriate use is. But it's going to come through monitoring from our principals, conversations between our principals and teachers. But teachers will have the autonomy to make those individual decisions on their own. We trust them as professionals. Jason has something to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just add to that. We would really default to needed for learning, and I could see us using it if say there was a health concern that was monitored by your device. We would allow that device through the 504 process to monitor some sort of health issue. Beyond a needed for learning, I don't see us really doing much with special exemptions. So I don't know if that helps.
I think so.
I would just express as from a parent's perspective, for the benefit of learning thing is worth keeping a pretty close eye on. I've shared this with Mike as well. I have kids, I have a 6th grader, I have a 2nd grader, and I have a freshman. And especially for my freshman who was in elementary school in the earlier days of iPads, before we had as much kind of structure around them, he was playing coolmathgames.com all the time, and he was saying it was learning. So I think there's a lot of things out there that can really blur the line between what's learning and what's a game. So I would just put out to be kind of watchful about that point.
I think it's a really good point. I'd say two things, if you don't mind. Our teachers have been asking for a policy for a while, right? And so we feel like this is going to give them the teeth to enforce this universally. Secondly, we accept the fact that no matter what we adopt as a policy, there's going to be some growing pains for a while, whether it's in January or whether it's in August. There's just going to be some time in which it's going to be difficult for those boots on the ground. So we're going to be learning as we go, but we're committed again from the district office on down to the building to supporting our staff and our kids.
I'd love to take a moment while I have the floor to just express my support for this policy. I know there are some people who would say it doesn't go far enough, and some people who would say it goes far, which I have learned as a elected official probably means you're on the right path. If you've got people mad on both sides of the position you're taking, you're probably doing something kind of right. I don't want to let perfect be the enemy of the good, and at the end of the day, I believe this policy is going to create less distraction for our students inside of their learning environments. I think it's going to support student achievement. I have heard so much from teachers who want help and want guidance, and they want it from this board. They have been having to feel their way through this issue, whether they're principals or teachers. People have had to make it up on their own as they've gone over the last, frankly, many years, and I think it's up to us as a governing body to help set a standard that can guide the work that's happening inside of our district. I think that's our job. We can't dump this onto teachers and ask them to figure it out and tell them good luck and hope for the best. I think we've done that for far too long. So I am supportive of this policy. A couple of challenges I would give to us, I think, is it almost feels like the easy solution to just take the phone away, and it feels like a much harder solution to actually start having some of these conversations with students and parents about what responsible technology use actually looks like. We put a big priority on college and career readiness, and to me that means the students who graduate Shawnee Mission schools can actually maintain a job and sit through a college class without pulling their phone out and without someone giving them a slap on the hand or without someone putting it in a magnetized bag. It means they can exist in the world with some level of self-discipline around technology. I think a lot of adults have a hard time with that. Sometimes I have a hard time with that. I'm sure people in this room have a hard time with that, but for me, that is the bigger hill to climb, is not how do we get these phones out of kids' hands. That almost sounds easier than the actual hard problem of how do we equip them to view technology as a tool that they are using instead of viewing technology as a tool that is using them, which is, I think, how a lot of people use technology right now. So that's kind of my challenge to those of us in this room, is how can we have that next harder conversation about technology? And my second sort of challenge I would offer to us as a governing body and an administrative team is that I think we have a lot of room around technology in particular to be more proactive. I think a lot of times there's these things we can see coming down the pike, right? There's AI coming, there's so many things coming at us from a technology front, and I feel like we end up in a position of reactivity and responsiveness often, and it sort of breaks my heart to hear that 5 of our middle school principals had to get together over the summer and be like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do about technology? That should be the guidance that we're providing as a district, and I hope we can do that better moving forward, where we're actually seeing what's coming at us and preparing for it, and not having to have sort of a community outcry to get us to do something like this. So that's where I am. Sorry, that wasn't a question.
That's all right. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all right. Thank you for that continued work. Appreciate that. Okay, so we are at consent items, and then we'll move to action. So if we have consent item 4.1 is approval of the general consent, which is items 5.1 to 5.10, as well as action item, or excuse me, as well as, we just have consent general. So do I have a motion to approve? All right, second?
Second, Hembry.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Okay, so we have 4 action items. So we're kind of circling back to this personal electronic device. So we have action item 6.1. So this is new board policy, JCDC, restrictions on possession and use of personal electronic devices. This is our second read. So I need a motion to approve in a second, and we'll take any final discussion. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move approval, Hembry.
All right, do I have a second?
Second, Garcia.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, I think an abstention counts as a no vote. Yep, so motion carries 6-1. All right, we have action item 2, approval of revised elementary, middle school, and high school student handbooks in relation to changes to this personal policy, JCDC. So I need a first and second, and then we'll take any discussion. All right, second?
Second, Hembry.
Thank you. Okay. Any discussion or further questions on the handbooks for Dr. Schumacher?
I just have a quick comment. I just wanted to say thank you for putting this together as rapidly as you did. I know there was some concern about getting it updated prior to this meeting, and I am much more comfortable approving a policy where we have defined parameters for people to work in. The loosey-goosey nature of the element of surprise perhaps is not something I appreciate in policy. So I know that there was work that went into that, and I thank you guys for doing it over winter break during a blizzard before this meeting. Thank you.
Thanks for calling it out. Thanks to Pam and her team for heading that up.
Okay, anything else? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right, item 6.3, approval of resolution to establish election of school board officers on June 23rd, 2025.
Yeah, I do recommend the approval of the resolution to establish the election of school board officers at the board's organizational meeting on June 23rd. This is a statutory requirement to pass this resolution at this time. As the board knows, we did make an edit to our board manual this last summer, changing the time in which we would elect school board officers, so this change is reflected in this resolution.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Owsley.
All right, a second?
Second, Westbrook.
Okay, is there any discussion or questions on this? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right, our fourth action item, approval of resolution to establish board's regular meeting dates for 2025-2026 on June 23rd, 2025.
Yep, I recommend adoption of the resolution to establish the day of the week of the month, time and location for regular Board of Education meetings, and any alternative meeting dates to be held during the 25-26 school year at the June 23rd, 25 organizational meeting. Again, this is a statutory requirement. Throughout the spring, our district administration will develop a draft board calendar and then bring that to you for approval in June.
Okay, great. Motion to approve?
So moved, Ousley.
Thank you. Second?
Second, Hembry.
All right. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right. We have time for board comments. Anyone have anything else to share?
I would just say thank you for having school today.
Yeah, we're back in school. Good to see the kids.
Yes, Ms. Owsley.
I just wanted to say thank you to the choral students who were here to sing. That is a first for my time on the dais, and that was really enjoyed. So thank you to that team for getting them here.
That was phenomenal. That was the best.
Glad you guys liked it.
Yeah. Okay, well, I will call this meeting to close. We have, at first I need approval of the executive session for legal litigation. So April, when you're ready, if you could read the motion, and then I'll need a second.
Alrighty, so I move that we go into executive session to discuss litigation with our legal counsel pursuant to the exception for matters which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship under COMA, and the board will reconvene in the board room at 8, we'll give 5 minutes break, right?
Sure.
Okay, which will give us then 8:10.
So we'll go into executive session at 8:10 and come back out then at 8:30?
Yes.
Okay.
20 minutes. So I invite Dr. Schumacher, Dr. Stubblefield, Dr. Higgins, and Rachel England to join us.
All right, do I have a second?
Second, Garcia.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. There will be no further business for our meeting tonight, so thank you all for being here, and this group will reconvene January 27th. All right, so have a good night, except for those staying for executive session.